Welcome. Um, it's been a while. Sorry for the echo. I'm doing this live for once, so just bear with me here. Um, yeah, it's been a while. I had to take some time off recently. Well, I was a little sick, as you guys can tell, so excuse that. But decided to go live, for my time back, so we'll see how that goes. Anyways, a couple things I want to mention before we get to the nitty gritty of everything. I opened up my Etsy store. I'm gonna go ahead and put that in the description pretty soon, I hope, um, or in the comment section as soon as the video goes up. But it's actually pretty good. Let me see if I can show you guys. Give me a quick second here. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring it up on my screen here. Yeah, that's the stuff right there. Uh, Shout out to my partner in crime, one of my best friends, my cousin. Uh, he started off his uh, sort of design company type deal. He does a lot of street art and collaborates with a whole other bunch of artists up in the Bay Area in San Francisco. So shout out to him. I'll go ahead and link his Instagram account and stuff. You guys can check out his work. He's amazing. But just quick little thing. We got this hat going on, right? It has a Walk It Off logo on it, which again, shout out to him. He actually made it, and you guys can kind of see it in the background right here. It's like right there. Um, he gifted that for Christmas, which was dope, and I love the logo, and he gave me obviously the card that's right on top of it, um, which is amazing. So that's where I kind of got that, and then let's see, what else do we have? We have this shirt. The Is that a Supra reaction? I thought was hilarious. Got a couple color options in that, and then we also have the what I dubbed a sweater, a hoodie called the Meat, and the reason for that was the picture in the back. This one is it's an old picture. It's a very good picture. Reminds me of some good times with some good friends. A couple of us just cruising and just hanging out. Missed those days for sure. We also have the what I dubbed the light show. The light show is it's dope. It's amazing. Obviously my vehicle in it, but I like the whole aesthetic of it. And then we have the Walk It Off. This is number two. The first one's a shirt, but this one I really liked, really enjoyed. Again, it has the logo, the Walk It Off logo on it. Again, check it out. It's honestly they're pretty dope. I might cop them again. This one comes in a couple different color options. I think there's a black one, yep, and a white one, and then we have the first. Um, this one's pretty simple. This one's just has like the Walk It Off logo there. Um, yeah, nothing in the back, just a little logo in the front. I thought that was pretty simple for some of you guys are a little more minimalists. But yeah, go ahead and check that out. Like I said, I'll leave that um, link in the comment section and the description to this video. It's also on my Instagram. You guys check out my Instagram. My handle's up here somewhere, right? Check that out. I think it's the link is in my story and also in my bio and that. So yeah, I'd appreciate it. Um, but yeah, that's kind of what's been going on. Um, Christmas was amazing. I hope you guys had a wonderful time as well. Again, thank you for joining me here now, or if you guys end up watching this in the future, I highly appreciate that. My video back, I honestly wanted to make this a little longer. Like I said, there's a reason why I did a live instead of pre-recorded uh, show this time because I wanted to do a couple different things. So, with that being said, one of the topics I want to do first is this video here. And I know you're probably looking at that tab like, what are you looking at? But I think it was pretty interesting. I haven't seen it, but I mean, some of you guys seem to like the it's complicated reaction stuff, so we're going to go ahead and do that. And we'll kind of dive into something else right after the video. So without further ado, again, thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and play this video for you guys and see what you guys think. Let's see.
Okay. All right, here we go. Yes. Okay.
Whoa.
So, okay.
Still
So
thirsty.
the first question is, can I have you state your name and that you consent to being on camera?
Okay, my name is, and I definitely consent to being
Why
on camera.
doesn't-
Okay, hold on. Okay.
This character is from
Anyways.
Legend of Zelda, Skull Kid or Deku Kid.
So I am Princess Peach from Mario franchise. My character is Kirby.
I'm cosplaying Jinx from League of Legends.
So this is Tracer from Overwatch.
Just
I did
a
her
lot of
original
wow.
game look.
I am Thanatos from the game Hades.
My character's name is Makima from Chainsaw Man.
My character is Persephone from Lore Olympus. It's a
think
web series
I should
about
start getting
the
into
Greek
anime.
gods.
So I'm dressed as Imogen Tumult from Critical Role.
I'm Suki and he's Sokka, and we chose this because we love Avatar. And
TNG era Andorian
Interesting.
from Star Trek.
Okay, so I'm Morgana.
Oh, I'm Haruhi Suzumiya from the Melakani of Haruhi Suzumiya today.
Audrey 2 for Little Shop of Horrors cosplay.
A rogue Twi'lek from the Star Wars universe, an OC character.
Well, I am the Red Queen. I have the meat.
I'm Slave Leia, and because I really like that she's a slave, honestly.
Who is your favorite
Wow.
Joker?
Oh,
Wow.
of course, it's Cesar Romero. Followed a real close second by Jack Nicholson.
What is the best and the worst thing about being Marty and Doc Brown?
Going back to the future?
How should someone who's socially awkward find love?
I'm still trying to figure that one out.
That's a good question.
That's a good question. But if they have anything that they really like all the people here really like to do cosplay, or they like certain characters, and that is a way to find other people.
What's the best
Yeah, I guess,
compliment
you
you've
know.
ever received?
I used to be a very
Finding
insecure
someone with
person,
your
so
same interests.
I always appreciate compliments on my appearance, but I like being complimented on personality.
Personality. That's my favorite compliment.
Why do so many women prefer compliments not on their appearance when they spend so much time on their appearance?
That is really interesting.
a good
I never
question.
thought of that question. I don't know. I love compliments on my appearance, but my thing is I get
Yeah.
them so often that I enjoy when somebody notices something other than my appearance.
Why
they
do
do
so many
spend a
women
lot of time
prefer
on it.
compliments not about their appearance when they spend so much time on their appearance?
That's true. I spent a lot of time doing my makeup this morning.
That's fact.
I think it's just because we're used to being ogled. When we spend so much time on ourselves, it's kind of hoped for or expected to be looked at and appreciated. But
Yeah, especially
I
if you
just
spend so
feel
much
like
time on it.
it's a deeper form of compliment.
What's the difference
Yeah,
between
that's
dressing
good.
sexy versus dressing trashy?
I think it's not necessarily the way that you dress, but how you carry yourself.
How
I
well
agree.
the,
I would agree.
the outfit
What
fits
do you
you.
think?
You can only have one part out at a time is what I like to
Is there a
draw the
rule,
line
ladies?
at.
One
So
part at a
if
time?
your boobs are out, your legs can't be out. And if your legs are out, your boobs can't be out. I think that's, if you have both out, that's the trashy part.
I think sexiness is mostly about like confidence and just like owning it.
I think that's kind of in the eye of the beholder. I think I really think that the term like dressing trashy kind of just depends on the situation, you know, like if you're dressing in something for like the bedroom, there is no such thing as trashy there. If the other person finds it sexy or they like it, that's just what it is. There's no such thing as trashy. But I think there's a level of decorum that certain places have that make it more or less unacceptable.
Yeah, obviously I think it has to do with your audience, right? Like depending on who your audience is not only that, but then also depends on where you're at. You know what I mean? Like if you're dressing like the girl at the very beginning, but you're going to church, trashy, regardless of who the audience is. Like it's just the location itself. You can't go to like that just to court, you know? If you're at work and you work an office job, again, like audience and location go hand in hand, but something like this, I guess it doesn't have to necessarily be trashy, or like if it's socially acceptable, like Halloween, right?
Depending on what it really does depend on what it is and what the audience what the people around you consent to as well, because obviously like I'm not going to wear like even something that like I might wear to a convention, I wouldn't wear to like a park filled with children. You understand?
Exactly.
Like there's a difference between those two.
One man's trash is like another man's treasure, and as long as you're not, accosting someone, like don't yuck someone else's yum because they may view it as art.
Are jokes funny because they reveal uncomfortable truths?
Oh, of course. The best thing is somebody getting hurt. Oh, yeah. Comedy's all about pain.
What's your favorite movie?
Scream.
Okay. How do you decide what to wear for Halloween?
Wow.
Oh, what's ready at the moment?
Oh my gosh, deciding what to be on Halloween is like the hardest thing ever. I usually try and pick something that I don't think that other people will be, so I try and think outside the box.
And finally,
Yeah,
how
she-
should someone who's socially awkward find love?
That's different.
Oh my gosh, that's a hard question. I feel like just being yourself, because like, maybe you'll meet another socially awkward person who just makes you feel comfortable.
I think people who are socially
But by definition, you're socially awkward. So how do you go about meeting somebody? And you have like two socially awkward people. I would imagine that they're gonna try not to talk to each other, or like at least like there wouldn't be anything that's really gonna drive them to communicate in that way. I mean, if you're socially awkward, even though you can be attracted to somebody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna talk to them, because I wouldn't consider myself like socially awkward. Um, I used to be maybe when I was younger, but even then, like someone who isn't socially awkward, you see someone who you find attractive, you're not always gonna go up and talk to them. I'm sure you guys know, like, or have done it yourself, where you see somebody and you just don't say anything to them. You just find them. So can you imagine being socially awkward? I think that's even elevated even above that, where you're just like, hell no, I'm not approaching anybody. You crazy?
not awkward also struggle with love. I think
Yeah.
sometimes internal struggles need to be addressed before you try to go for the external. Do you have any issues within yourself outside of love before you even try to find love,
I think a very good first step would be working on your social cues and social, like learning how to make conversation. And
Right.
I think maybe looking on YouTube or asking friends, working on your social skills probably first. I think a lot of people can be turned off by social.
And the only way to do that is to be social. Like, it's hard, because if you are an introvert and you try to be an extrovert, the only way you do that is by being that extrovert. Um, it's difficult. Even for me, like to sit down when I started, obviously, this channel, I'm just not much on it, but um, just knowing that other people are seeing it and or can potentially see it, it's awkward sometimes. So you do have to really go and break that barrier that people often have for themselves, and put yourself out there. So yeah, it's not easy.
Social awkwardness. I mean, nobody wants to be uncomfortable, and sometimes it's uncomfortable when there's like an awkward silence or nobody knows how to continue conversation. So maybe a first step for somebody that is socially awkward would be working on social skills, or maybe mentally preparing for that first date to
Yep.
have questions to ask. That way it makes breaking the ice easier and allows you to open up and maybe be a little less uncomfortable or awkward.
Well, I myself am a little
And on that note, sorry, I know how to pause right
little
on
socially
our face
awkward.
there, but some free game here for the men. If you're ever on a date, and a lot of, I wouldn't say, I would say most women, I think, are a little apprehensive on the first date within regards to how comfortable they are with the men. For the guys, if you can make her feel as if everything around you is safe, and you seem to have, again, seem to have all the answers, you're gonna have a pretty good date with that girl, especially on the first date, right? As far as like where you're going, time, if you're going out to a restaurant, where, if you're gonna watch a movie, you already have the tickets ready. You you go to the restaurant, you know exactly what you're gonna order, and you know if she has trouble picking something to eat, you say, oh, you know, I've tried this. This is really good. Doing stuff like that, like just being very sure of certain things, even if you've never done these things before, just at least like you know faking it till you make it. It's gonna make her feel really confident and secure about it being there in the first place. So that's a good rule of thumb to have. It'll go by a lot smoother for both of you if you take that initiative and do so. I mean, I do that just because of the type of person I am. I like being in control, so it's pretty easy. But yeah, if you can do that, believe me, you'll more than likely like if and then you have to also be the one to kind of structure the conversation and ask the questions. If you can do those things, you'll have a pretty good time, and you're probably more than likely you'll get a second date.
Nerd, and I actually met my husband at a Comic-Con. I think, you know, finding your interests locally, you know, maybe you're really into video games and you could find like a local game club, or going to conventions and stuff and like meeting through mutual connections and stuff. It's all about finding someone that kind of fills that little box in your heart that's nerdy.
How can someone who's socially awkward find love?
I wish I knew. I'm socially awkward, and
Have you found love?
no. I've kind of given up on that.
That's actually, I feel like, a really hard thing. Like, you know, as a cosplayer and a nerd, I feel like, especially, I'm married, and I wanted someone who accepted the fact that I would cosplay, sometimes as men, sometimes as women, and I needed someone who accepted that. And I feel like as you get older, you just have to go with it. You have to be genuinely yourself. You can't try and hide yourself, and there is someone out there. There's someone out there for you, but just continue to be yourself. And if you're socially awkward, then that's fine. There's still someone out there for you.
So do you believe that opposites attract or like minds?
I absolutely believe that opposites attract, but only to a certain extent. I think you have to have certain things in common, but I think that having someone that complements you in certain ways is really, really important. For example, me and my husband build cosplays together. He has OCD and I have ADHD, which are two things that sometimes don't play super nice together, but we've really found a wonderful way. We wouldn't be able to do the things that we do if we weren't the way that we were. His strengths are my weaknesses, and my weaknesses are his strengths are my weaknesses, and my strengths are his weaknesses. So we really are able to make a great marriage and make a great life together that way.
I feel like in order to be in love and to exist together, you have to have some similarities, but you can't be the exact same person, or else you're never going to grow together. Like, I don't want to date myself. I don't want to marry myself. So a little bit of both.
In order for a successful relationship to work, you either have to agree to disagree, or there's a lot of little things that you guys have to work through to have a certain flow through day-to-day activities and hardships and chores, things like that. So you have to be like-minded in that sense.
Some people are just not compatible if it comes to like life goals and stuff, and differences in aspect or differences in.
Because I think you can be like I know a lot of people who think the same way or have the same values that I do, but I would never like just date them because they can't be too similar. Like she said, you have to kind of complement each other, because when everything's the same, it's kind of like you're dating yourself, and that's kind of weird. Like I wouldn't want somebody, you know, masculine or controlling or all that stuff. Like it'd be me dating myself, and if that's the point, then why not just be single, right? So yeah, you do kind of have to find differences, or someone who, even if you have like one interest, it doesn't mean like everything about them is the same. So yeah, I don't know. I've never dated a cosplayer, so.
Communications, I feel like you should have the same or similar communication styles, but having different hobbies, that can be beneficial because you can show each other new stuff.
I think sense of humor is really important to have that in common, that you two can laugh together. I think it's important to have at least a certain extent of interests in common. Like my husband won't LARP with me, but obviously he helps me build cosplay, and he likes going, like we play video games together and we love movies. And so we have a lot of things that we have in common that we can share and we can enjoy, but we enjoy in kind of our own way, but we enjoy them in our own ways together.
Finally, how should someone who's socially awkward find love?
Tinder.
Drive through at Arby's.
And finally, when you meet a guy you like, what's the first question you typically ask?
Do you play video games?
I think you have to definitely have common ground with someone you're going to spend any time with. I mean, nobody's 100% the same, but if you don't enjoy the same things, you don't enjoy doing some of the same things, you can't stay together for any length of time.
I pretty much agree with all of his points. You wouldn't want someone
She's
exactly
really bright.
like you, because sometimes our differences bring out like the best in
Messing with my
us.
eyes.
Sometimes something you may have a deficit in, your partner may have an advantage in, and so you kind of balance each other out. But you do have to have something in common.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Sorry, I mean, but
Yeah. Probably shouldn't have taken that shortcut. But now I can
why
finally
are we
use
watching
TireRack.com.
commercials? Anyways, all right. So, yeah, that was this one was a little, I guess, different than some of the other stuff. It wasn't as, I guess, controversial. I know some of his videos do get a little, like I said, controversial. So let's see. So I can pull up a different one. But yeah, let me know what you guys think about that first video. Um, yeah, if you are gonna date somebody, like, I think they're, for the most part, I agree. Like, you gotta have some similarities, but you can't be identical, because then, like I said, it's like you almost know everything about that person already and their belief systems. And I've also never been a big proponent of like having this creating an echo chamber for yourself of the same ideals and everything, because then that's it's a little strange, I guess. Um, Again, shout out to It's Complicated. Right, we're gonna watch this other one here. Hopefully that was pretty cool. Like I said, longer stream, make it a little longer than usual. See how this plays out. I love this dude's content, so forgive me if you guys don't like it. Kick rocks, dude. Honestly, no, I'm just playing. Stay. Like the video, you dweebs. See what this one has. What he has to say. Hopefully, it's a little better than the last one.
Would you agree that women are more complicated than men?
Yes.
Yeah, I would.
100%.
Yeah, and the short answer, yes, in certain situations.
Are men too simple to understand women, or are women just too complex to be understood?
I think that men are too simple to understand women.
I think that women are too complex.
Too simple, yeah.
I just don't think men ask enough questions. Like, I think like women are very vulnerable. Like, I think most women I know like are gonna.
I'm sorry. She said men don't ask too many questions, right? You guys are gonna hate me, or some of you guys, not all of you, but like, you guys don't know by now. Like, do guys really care about like a whole bunch of stuff about you? Not necessarily. Most guys will ask questions or have conversation just for the simple fact that like it feeds an ego or has like something to say. Because at the end of the day, I'm telling you guys, everybody who says guys only want one thing, it's true. Like right off the bat, it's true. Everything else comes secondary for most men. I'm not gonna say all, because then again, this is walk it off. So walk it off if you don't like it. But I mean, that's why they don't. That's why all that other stuff, like for dudes, I'm guys for guys' perspective, a lot of that stuff comes secondary. You see a girl, you like her, if she's attractive, you're like, yep, that one. It's simple. It's simple.
Gonna tell you like, yo, this is an issue. Like, fix this. Hello, hello, hello. And then, I mean, what do they say? What's the statistics of divorce? Like 80% of women, like, initiate divorces. And then men are like, oh my God, I didn't know what happened. Like, bitch, your wife was.
She gave that statistic. Yes, it's 80% of divorces are initiated by women, but she didn't say why. And the number one predictor of women initiating divorces is often a financial problem. So it's not the women saying, "Oh, this is a problem." This is if it is a problem and they're pointing out a problem, usually the problem is monetary. You're not making enough. Like, it's always about money. And that same study, if you go look it up, where it talks about how 80% of them are initiated by women, and I think it's well over 50% of marriages end up in divorce now. but it tells you why, and it's usually financial. It's not like you're a guy doing the same repetitive dumb things or annoying things. Like if there's one predictor of divorce for a lot of men, it's them not making enough money. Plain and simple. So, yeah.
Telling you for the past 12 years, like what she needed, and you didn't do it. So,
is it better to be complicated or to be simple?
I think it's better
Depends.
to be complicated.
It
Gives you depth.
Better to be complicated, but in the dating sense, probably better to be simple, easier to manipulate.
Why is it better to be complicated if it's harder to be understood?
Just, I'm gonna say this, and again, if you guys don't like it, don't like it, you know. But I think men and women are pretty simple. And, you know, kind of thinking about it, I think they're both pretty simple. I think some people just like to make themselves out to be complicated because there's no depth to them. Um, and you'll see that with somebody who hasn't really, I guess, struggled their whole lives, or they live a pretty comfortable life. You, mostly those people are pretty simple. I think people with depth, with some complexity, have been through some turmoil in their life, and I would say that on a bound of probability, I'm generalizing here, but on a bound of probability, I would say that men would probably be a little more complicated, but they like to simplify, while women like to put the image of them being complicated because of lack of actual complexity. So, I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, but I think like there's this facade, you know, a lot of women will say like, "Oh, I'm crazy, I'm this, I'm that, and I'm complicated, I know, and I have my mood swings and yada yada yada." It's not that complicated. It's not that complex, and it's not that deep. Most of the time, you've heard it a million times. I think dudes are probably more complex, but they hide it. They don't necessarily depict it as much. And it's more often than not that you'll see a dude usually, you know, that mysterious guy who is complicated, right? Who's gotten some struggle in their life. So, yeah, I mean, that's my 2 cents. I could be wrong.
Because when someone can understand you, they understand all those complex parts of you, and then I feel like you get a deeper connection.
Yeah, same here. I feel like there's more to dig into and more layers to uncover, but in the long run, it might not work out. But
yeah.
Women often describe themselves as complicated, emotional.
Planning a family? Check your sperm count. You can test it in your room. Morning, night, or afternoon.
Because there's ads, and I'm poor and I don't have YouTube.
Even crazy. Do you think women actually want to be understood?
Yes.
Wouldn't that hold them to a standard?
They kind of do, but they kind of don't. They want to be understood by the guys that they want to be understood by, basically.
It's complicated because we say like we want something, but then we just say that to make you feel like we want something else. Like when our partner is going out to get some.
So that's my point. Like she said, we say that we are, right? These things, it's not because you're genuinely complicated or complex. You're just saying it to create complexity, but it's not really you. You're doing it so that there's work to be done towards you, if that makes sense, right? You're making somebody work for something, but it's not necessarily that you are complex. You're just creating the complexity for them.
Food. Oh, we don't want any food, but as soon as you come back, you didn't get me anything. You know, so it's
that's annoying.
Basically, it is complicated.
If women were easily understood, wouldn't that hold them accountable?
Yes. Yes.
Wouldn't that make it harder to manipulate?
Yes.
Is there any better manipulation strategy than remaining an unidentifiable threat?
Guilt tripping.
I don't think she understood the question.
That is the best tactic you can use, and that's a tactic they use all the time, definitely.
If you understand your woman and you understand why she say the shit she say, do the shit she do, then she can't manipulate you. But if you don't understand why she do the shit she do, then she for sure gonna be able to run circles around you, manipulate you, all types of shit.
Yeah.
You feel me? Especially if you're a goofy.
A lot of girls.
Isn't it easier to manipulate somebody if you can just claim that you're crazy and you?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah.
A lot of girls run circles around a lot of guys, to be honest. I mean, I've yeah, that it's crazy. Like the amount of guys that get played out here on a consistent basis, like and just get used up um daily is insane. The whole idea of like OnlyFans and stuff like that, like paid content and things, is like basically women extracting resources from men for their own gain. And you know they're using their sexuality or whatever to gain those resources. Uh, you're manipulating men into giving it up easy for their own gain. It's what it is. Like so, eh.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like when people are like, "Oh, I'm crazy because this zodiac sign." It's, you know, like I was like
Yeah,
this my
that's
whole
cool.
life. Like, yeah, definitely. And I think some people can fall for it, but it's probably on the other person to be like, "All right, I'm not dealing with this person's shit."
Would you want to live with or commit to someone who admits to being crazy?
No, because they're not willing to change. They're just accepting that they're crazy and I'm going to do crazy shit, so you should accept it. And
Why do so many women admit to being complicated, emotional, even crazy, and think that's acceptable behavior?
It's
Because nobody checks them and tells
times.
them
Like
anything.
people are just out of their minds nowadays. So it's like it's accepted by everybody. It's glorified all over the place with media, music, TikTok, internet, Instagram, all that.
That's what they been all their life. You
And
gotta
they're
think like,
enabled.
you gotta think like, that's just them. You feel me? They don't even women don't even understand themselves. Sometimes they do something, don't even understand why they did the shit.
How likely are women willing to accept men for just the way men are?
Lunacy.
Not at all. A woman wants you to be how she wants you to be, type shit. You feel me?
So why should men accept women for just the way that women are?
Shouldn't. Shouldn't.
Cause they
Dudes need
women
to
like
hold women to a standard
shit.
too.
You can't live with them. You can't live without them. For real, for real.
I see it as a way of a woman just making excuses to do whatever they feel like they want.
How likely are women willing to accept men for just the way that men are?
It's rare. It's very rare.
So why should men accept women for just the way that women are?
We shouldn't, but we do.
Who is more shallow, men or women?
Shallow?
Depends on
Can you
context.
define shallow? Like
Shallow as you only go for looks. You don't look on the deeper surface.
Oh, shallow.
I hate to say it, but I'm gonna have to
I
say
don't think
women, low key.
They are, because men don't care what kind of car women have. They don't care what kind of phone you have. They
Nope.
don't care where you live. Women, they kind of do. Like, they care what.
You can be a girl driving like a beat down car, like just an absolute piece of junk, and a dude's still gonna hit on you. Like if you look good, you're gonna have dudes like, and you know, you know how many people like this happened to me where I've met people like from like Instagram or social media, and they look amazing. They got these pictures and they got like 10, 20, 50,000 followers, and they look, you know, beautiful. And then you meet them in real life, and they're like working at a McDonald's, driving like a '96 Honda Civic, and beat to crap, old phone, like all this stuff. Yet they got like 50,000 followers and guys simping in their DMs, and I'm sure they're being hit on at work and stuff. So guys don't really care about that. We really don't. You look good, you look good.
They're like, well, you're broke.
Like, are you broke? Are you made of money?
girls-
Like, is it good looking? Is it tall?
The whole idea of like, what was in the book, women are sex objects and men are success objects, right? We get sort of, how would I say it, judged on different criteria.
It's women.
depending
Women
if you're
are
men
more
or
gold diggers than men, I would say.
But it's kind of us.
It depends on the context because sexually, men are known to be more shallow, but materialistically, women are known to be more shallow. But are they? I mean, it really depends on the person, like Emma said.
Yeah, women more shallow for sure. They want attractive, successful, good in bed, money. They want you to do what they say. Men just want you to be pretty and come home.
Are women more shallow because they want too many things, or are men more shallow because they only want one thing?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Men, because they only want one thing.
How is that
What are
more
your thoughts on
shallow,
the following
when you
expression?
have more criteria?
A woman wants one man to satisfy her every need, while a man wants every woman to satisfy his one need.
Wow.
Wow,
that's deep.
That's
I don't know. I feel like if both of those are
That's
satisfied.
facts. Women want one man to satisfy their every need, and men want every woman to satisfy their one need.
Satisfied, then I guess it would make for a good relationship. But at the same time, I don't think that's possible.
Men want the cooch cooch, but men want so much more. They want family. They want all of that. But they're just not good at showing it. They just wanna show us that they want.
But I mean, wouldn't you say that men are often shamed for being shallow because they just want one thing?
But don't also women only want one thing?
Well, do women want one
Not
thing
as
or do
much.
women want a
Multiple
lot?
I want the whole
things.
package. Women want, women want a man. Women want a family, a homemade.
In other words, women want the complete package. They want a man who's going to check all the boxes.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
does that make... Basically, what I'm curious about is, if men and women can both be shallow for completely different reasons, what does it mean to be shallow?
I think being shallow is just only seeing someone at surface level. And I think having preferences is just knowing what you like and what you don't like, and actually just having a high standard for yourself.
Let's say a man is only willing.
Sorry, I'm gonna cut her off. My 2 cents, and you guys can comment your thoughts on this, but I think if you're being shallow is there's a lot of nuance to it, I think. I think you would be shallow not for like if you're a dude and all you want is that one thing. Um, I don't think you're shallow in wanting it. I think you'd be shallow in wanting only that thing and dismissing the person as a whole and seeing them as just that thing, right? You can still want, your necessities met and not necessarily be shallow, be considerate of the person, and they can still provide that thing. It's same thing if you're a woman, like, yeah, I think you'd be shallow if that's all you cared about that dude for, like, and let's say that dude didn't have it and the girl laughed, that's shallow, because at that point, you're not necessarily invested in the person anymore. But to be attracted to that, I think that's where it differentiates is whether that's the thing that's attracting to you. I don't think it's shallow, but if that's the thing that's keeping you, I think that's shallow. I think that's where that difference is.
To find a girl attractive if she's blonde, has huge tits, kind of looks like a blow-up doll, right? Like that's a little bit shallow. Or if a woman is only able to look at a man and be like, okay, abs, hot body, good hair, good teeth, like I feel like that's a little bit shallow. But your preference, if it's your preference of somebody who's like, okay, I prefer somebody who's on the fitter side, doesn't mean that they have to have a full-on six-pack. It could just mean they take care of their body, they're going to the gym, they're working on themselves. I personally prefer dad bods and be like, oh, daddy. That is my preference. Little snuggle cuddle meat, that's what I like.
You know what's funny is there's actually a study on, I don't know if I can, hold on, let me see if I can pull this up, because I thought it was interesting. Let's see. Give me a second. There's a study about the whole like dad bod thing, and it was I don't think I can find it. I wish I would have pulled it up prior. But it was interesting because there was a study done about the whole dad bod thing, and it wasn't the physicality of a dad bod that was arousing to women. It was more what that meant, and what that usually meant is a guy who has done the work, is relatively successful, has been able to maintain a family, and he's able to develop this physique because he's so busy keeping up a family and a job, and he's probably married and he's able to have kids. And what that is an easy way for women to identify pre-selection in a guy, and seeing him as sort of having value because he's able to acquire these things, and the dad bod being more a signifier, sorry, of these things, of the protecting and the provisioning, which women find attractive. So it's not so much the physicality that they find attractive, it's more of what it signifies. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I just want to throw that out there.
So, yeah.
Are men more shallow for wanting attractive women, or are women more shallow for only wanting attractive and also successful men?
I think that depends who you talk to and your interpretation of that.
So women aren't shallow for expecting more?
I think everyone's a bit fucking shallow.
And in my previous relationships, I would say that they expect me to be the best version of myself, not just hot. You can get away with being just hot, but you want to be able to articulate yourself and have a conversation with the person, because otherwise the relationship doesn't go anywhere, and it's really unlevel.
Being a successful man, right, means you make over 6 figures.
I think there's more leniency when you're a pretty or good looking female. Because again, most guys will give you a chance just based off that. The personality and all that stuff can be developed, I think, later. If you're a woman, to kind of keep a guy around, if the guy, starts to see a need for conversation and such, I think can be developed later. I think if you're a guy, though, you need to have the experience and personality beforehand, because women place that pretty heavily when mate selecting. So to her point, yes and no. Yes, if you're a dude, you need to have that personality. If you're a girl, you have time.
You have a nice car, nice house, nice job, and being attractive. Okay, cool. Women want that, but that's not always going to bring you your happiness. And with men, because they only want a hot girl, again, that's not going to bring you your happiness, but it's not as shallow, because sure, men are very physical. They want something that's beautiful, and that's what's going to stimulate their mind. Women want some emotional type of connection.
I personally believe to be shallow is that you only looking on the surface. Like, hey, I think you're good looking. I think I can have sex with you and the sex is great. But we don't even have a deeper connection. We cannot even have a conversation. When we argue, it's really, really bad. Like, that's shallow. That's really just looking on the surface of a person, not knowing them for who they are.
I mean, I think like attraction is what initially brings you to someone, but really like personality, humor.
Right, like you remember what I said earlier. I think if that's the thing that's attracting you, it's not shallow. But if that's the thing that's keeping you, that's shallow.
Or emotional connection is what makes you stay around.
Do you think women have the privilege of being more picky because they have more options?
Absolutely.
Potentially. I know some picky men, though.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think women definitely have that privilege. You go into a woman's Instagram messages and there's 100 men in there, but a guy will be lucky if he hits up 100 girls and, maybe 2 get back to him.
Why is it considered a woman's preference to reject a man based on height, but it's considered shallow if a man rejects a woman based on weight?
Is it though?
Yeah.
I mean, okay, again, you're asking somebody who is very open. But yes, I do.
I mean, is that a double standard?
It is a double standard because, the short king movement, right?
What's the thing? What is called weight shaming?
Body shaming.
Hold on. There's a short king movement. Where was I? Where was I? I want to be part of this movement. I'm short as hell.
Body shaming? So shouldn't height size be body shaming too?
Yeah.
Isn't it easier to change your weight than it is to change your height?
Yes.
So wouldn't it be more shallow for women to reject men based on height?
Yeah.
Why do dating apps ask about height but not weight when women have a height preference and men have a weight preference? Is that not a double standard?
Yeah, it is. I kind of feel like the dating apps are kind of like pushing that agenda.
Yeah, sure.
Do you believe that anyone can be in anyone's league?
No.
Planning a family? Check your sperm count.
Not at all.
You can test it in your room.
Why?
No.
What does it mean to be out of somebody's league?
You're just not attracted to that type of person. Like, it can be personality-wise, physically, or status. It's just you're not attracted to that kind of person at all. So.
What is pansexual?
I have no idea.
Me neither.
So I don't know the actual definition, but for me, I feel like it means like you love everything and are attracted to everything. You're attracted to a man, to a woman, to somebody who's transgender. Like,
it essentially
everyone.
means you can be attracted to anybody regardless of gender.
Of gender. Okay, so I kind of got that right? Okay.
Would you assume that pansexuals are the least shallow?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
If you're not pansexual, does that mean that you are shallow?
I'm not sure. I don't completely
Not
understand.
necessarily. I don't think that's true because it could be that you can be pansexual and you just hold all these people to a different standard, right? And that doesn't mean that you're just gonna automatically find everybody attractive. I'm sure you're open to different people, but more often than not, you're gonna hold different people to a different standard. Like if you're attracted to a girl, you're not gonna hold her to a standard of her having to be tall and XYZ, right? Same thing if you're attracted to a dude, you're not gonna hold him to a standard of making sure he gets, if he's identified as as a male, you're not gonna hold him a standard to him wearing heels properly. If a person is transgender, you're not gonna hold them to a standard of being defined by his birth given gender or whatever. So not necessarily. I think you can have different. They probably have different preferences or standards for different people they're attracted to.
Pansexual, so
What's the difference between pansexual and bisexual?
I've been asking myself that for years. I don't know. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I don't know. They're the same thing. They're the same thing. To me, I don't know. I might be wrong. I might be getting canceled for that. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Based on what you said, pansexual is like being attracted to all kinds of gender, including non-binary and people who fall outside of the gender. But bisexual is being attracted to people who identify as either male or female.
Do you think sexuality for women is more mental and emotional for women than men?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. I feel like if I'm not in the right mindset, I will not orgasm for the life of me. You can try.
Dudes, here's a bit of game. And actually, it's funny. I had this conversation with somebody not long ago, and kind of telling them like, for women, the whole idea of getting off is all mental. Most of it is like mental. That's how you get them going is mentally. If you can get arousal out of them through mental stimulation, by the time you get to actually to the act, they're kind of already almost there. It's just like we'll call it just opening the door for them to, have their needs met. But it's all mental. That's why like good conversation, being interesting, having confidence, and checking all these boxes as a dude, it gets the girl to that point where she wants to. Because you can be completely attractive and everything, but a girl may choose not to do that with you solely based on the fact that you're boring. Because that's what, now girls check me, but from what I know, if you're boring as hell, if you're not funny, that like drives most women up. Sorry to put it like that.
You can try and you can try and it will not happen.
So wouldn't that mean that women are more likely to be pansexual than men are?
Absolutely, yes. I feel like sometimes I got my euphoric experience from somebody who is not a man. And that's totally fine.
Should a man be expected to love a woman for who she is if a woman only loves a man for what he provides?
No, double standard. That's not cool. That's not cool.
No.
They have a problem with the double standard. I don't have a problem with the double standard. I think it's a reality of things. Because we could operate in should, could, would, but then there's reality. I think if you're a guy, you should be definitely held to a standard. I think also you should hold women to a standard, but for the most part, if you're a dude, you do have to meet a certain metric if you're looking to find a woman who is going to sit by your side and kind of take your leadership in your relationship serious. So, but is that the thing that gets them to fall? I'm gonna go on a tangent, but after this video.
No, they should both love each other for who they are. And I mean, sometimes it depends on the age and the dating. Like, some young women only want men for what they have, but like if they're really...
At Universal Technical Institute, you don't have to explain your passion for cars. We get it. That's why we're making...
really serious, then it should be for who they are.
Who is more delusional? The average man holding out for the lingerie model or the average woman holding out for the rich alpha male?
I think the average male that's waiting on a lingerie model.
The average man holding out for the lingerie model, because lingerie model ain't the average woman. You can't be, you feel me?
But can't the man improve himself to the point where he can attract most of the lingerie
Yeah,
women?
he for sure can. He got to get on his shit.
Yes, he can, actually.
So wouldn't that mean that men are better at self-improvement than women?
Yes.
I'm gonna go off on a different tangent about this too, because I don't think that's the proper question to ask about who's more delusional. I think because the guy, think about it, the guy, most guys want what that one thing, right? So, but he wants that one thing from a really beautiful woman, and a guy, you can do the work to get to that point where you can attract somebody like that, but that's all he wants. He's not trying to marry the girl, right? So that would probably be easier, as opposed to if you're like let's say a very attractive girl and you want that dude, but you don't want that. The difference is that women don't want him just for the fun, we'll call it. They want him long term. So I think it's more delusional to think that you're gonna get somebody like that long term. So my 2 cents.
You're right. You're right. He can, because to women, like those things, like how a man looks physically. I guess if he is, you know, if he has money, if he has status, then most women are okay with that. Like he doesn't have to be very attractive. So yeah, I mean, it could be kind of equal.
So wouldn't that also mean that men are better at self-improvement than women?
For sure. A woman thinks just because she a woman,
100%.
that's all she need to have to the table. A man really got to go out there and better himself, better him life, get a car, get a house, get a career. You feel me? So a man...
Hell yeah, because, oh my God, 100%. Because you could be a chick with like no personality at all, like no moves, no nothing to talk about, no life experiences, no stories to tell, nothing, like just a shell of a person, a beautiful shell of a person, and you're still gonna get attention. Like you're still gonna get somebody trying to come to you. Maybe you're not gonna get a top tier guy to take you seriously, but you are. Believe me, go on social media, you see a lot of beautiful women, and I'm sorry to say, but with no personality whatsoever, nothing to offer but their appearance, and you get a bunch of guys simping over them, right? So why would you improve? Right, you're doing the bare minimum. You're using what was God given to get your way through life and get things that you need, whether it's paid or not. Like, and as a dude though, as a dude, if you don't do the work, you're not gonna get what you want. Like women aren't gonna find you attractive. So as a dude, you have to improve. You have to do something, right? Chris Rock that said that women are only women, children, and dogs are loved unconditionally. Men are loved under the condition they provide something, right? So as a dude, you have to provide value. You have to. You don't have an option. Unless you don't want to get no play at all, you want to die alone, you have to improve. And as a girl, you can be just bare minimum, you're going to get attention. So why would you want to, what incentive would you have to improve if you're getting the validation up front?
So go better himself before women do.
A woman wants one man to satisfy her every need, while a man wants every woman to satisfy his one need.
That's true. That's true. That's true to some extent. It's not all the way true, but it's mostly true, yeah.
Every woman to satisfy his one need.
Ooh. That sounds accurate, though. I'm going to keep it real. That sounds real accurate.
Why does a society that tells a man he doesn't deserve a woman when he's broke have any right to tell that man he only deserves one woman when he's rich?
It's double standard. It's like they want you to be down here, right? And then when you get...
But we're going to call it a patriarchy, right? This is... Oh, man, I'm going to go on so many tangents right after this
up
video.
here, they
Sorry. I
don't want you to enjoy the fruits of your labor or what you've done or the success that comes or the accoutrements that come with being successful. It's crazy.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if a man, If he's living his best life and making all this money and he wants to be a playboy, like, do what you want to do. I think people's biggest issue is that with that is like men want this, like, oh, we want this one woman to be loyal and to come home to and that loves us, you know, unconditionally no matter what, but I also want to go live this double life. I think that's people's biggest issue with men.
Absolutely.
But if they were honest, I think it would be a totally different story.
Absolutely. And I don't want to say too much about my own personal life, but this is why you need to be upfront about what it is your expectations are when you're trying to go into a relationship. Like, I'll be honest, I've had a lot of women say no because of certain things that I had standards on, and they just did not want to be a part of it, which is fine. But I also was secure enough in myself to be able to walk away and say, well, that's cool. Now, don't get me wrong, like, I'm not gonna show you, but the amount of like times they've come back and been like, you know, maybe we can, and I'm like, look, I'm sorry, it's too late now. I got somebody, or talking to somebody, or this, that, and the third. Was maybe more open to it. You know, when you go about it being honest, whether people like it or not, I think it's probably it's gonna weed out obviously a lot of options for you. I'll be honest, but I'm so honest with people, and sometimes from what I've been told, it's very shocking at first. But when you can convey your ideas properly and have your ideas be really to a deeper level understood, and why you have certain ideals and standards, if you can convey those things, you're more likely to find somebody who's willing to jump on ship with you, especially when it comes to a relationship, or at least work towards something that you guys can both benefit from. So there's that. Now, I know I wanted to get on tangent on one of the things that they said earlier about it was the idea of right. It's something I forgot what she said, but basically the idea that men that came to mind was men love idealistically and women love opportunistically. And what I mean by that is it's often the case that when a girl falls for a guy, what you'll often see is that that girl will develop an image of this dude in her head that is often just fantasy. It's not a real thing. Could it? Maybe. But the problem is that that image you create of that other person in your head, right? That person has no responsibility to live up to that image you created in your head. Right? And for a lot of women, that's what happens is when they start to talk to a dude or whatever, get into a relationship, what they end up doing is not falling for the person in front of them or they're talking to. They're falling with the best version of that person in their head, because women are often ruled by their emotions. And I'm gonna tell you, ladies, you guys need to stop doing that. When you stop doing that, you're gonna stop being heartbroken so often, because you need to stop trying to create this image of this person that is not real. You know, and what happens is when that person doesn't live up to that, you kind of become disillusioned, and then you'll hear a lot of girls say, "Oh, you've changed," and it's like, no, that person never changed. That person was that person the entire time, right? But he didn't live up to that standard that you had, that image you created in your head. So in your eyes, he changed, but that person remained the same the entire time. This is why a lot of times they'll date guys who don't have necessarily anything really going for them. Um, you know, or they're a-holes or this, that, and the third. You know, they know that this guy isn't the best option for them, but what they do is they see potential, right? And a lot of times that potential is fabricated on behalf of a lot of men, because again, uncomfortable truths is men lie. And we'll get to that later, but they see this potential, and that's what they fall in love with, is that potential. They're not falling with the person that's in front of them. But as a man, as a guy, when you're talking to a girl, and the reason it takes so many so much more time, I think, for a guy to want to give a woman a relationship is simply due to the fact that as a dude, you're literally trying to find out who this girl is, like realistically in real time in front of you, like who this girl is, and can she mess you up long term. So I think when a guy is looking at a girl, he's much more realistic about what's in front of him than when a girl is. Um, that's why a lot of girls leave relationships, like I said, disillusioned, feeling like they got played, even though maybe the guy never really changed the entire time. He just kept being who he was, and then people act surprised, like, "Oh, I can't believe, this entire time he was just yada yada yada." And it's like, well, yeah, you ignored it. You didn't fall in love with the dude that you had in front of you. You fell in love with the idea of what he could be, you know. So yeah, there's that. And then I think the last tangent I want to touch on a video, it was a pretty good video, was sorry, it was the last bit where he said that fuck, I lost my train of thought. Excuse me. Let's see, let me see if I can play this back real quick because I know he said it.
That's all she need to have to the table. A man really got to go out there and better himself, better him life, get a car, get a house.
That, sorry, the whole idea of like who's more likely to improve, I think I said right, dudes, by far, because you can have a girl who's just like she's got an attitude problem or she's stuck up or um, like I said earlier, right, the fact that you'll see a lot of girls and she's got like 100,000 followers, driving like this 96 Honda and very like just the works, right? But she's getting validation on social media all the time. So in her mind, there's nothing that she really needs to improve other than maintain her beauty, perhaps as long as she can, and kind of milk that. It's funny though because that once they get to a certain age, right? Let's say you have a girl who's I don't know 23, 24, she's beautiful, gets all the attention. As soon as she starts hitting like 30 though, and over 30, she starts to then be like, oh, guys only want one thing. But it's like you kind of milked your youth solely based on that fact that guys were only looking for one thing. And now you're complaining about it because now guys are no longer looking at you, right? They're looking at the new 21-year-old. And now as a girl, you're having to compete with that new 21-year-old. So now you're trying to tell guys, no, 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 you got to keep looking at me like I bring value too. The same guys who were solely, following you or whatever, giving you compliments solely based on the way you look, um, milking them. Now you want them to look at, trying to tell them that there's more substance to you when, for the longest time, all you did was kind of feed off of your looks. You knew guys were shallow and you fed off of it for as long as you could, and now it's not providing anymore. So now you're trying to kind of reel that back from it. It's like, yeah, it's hypocritical, and I think a lot of women do that often. Like I said, they get to a certain age and that's where they have like this epiphany, right? You guys ever get a chance to read one of the books I have back there called The Rational Male? They have the epiphany phase. Um, it's funny. I've had in my past relationships, I've had a couple girls come back after some time and with that epiphany phase, which I thought was hilarious. Quick quick story here because I know it's a live. We're doing this live and I want to get you guys involved and maybe you guys can get to know me a little better. But I'll try to make it a very short story. But basically, what happened was I was dating a girl, and she had 2 kids. And at first, like when I was younger, I didn't really care about it that much. As I've gotten older, I kind of put a stop to that. Where I honestly stopped dating single moms. I don't do that anymore. There's it's not. Well, I'll get over that. Anyway, back to the story. Um, she was a single mom, had 2 kids. Dad wasn't necessarily involved, and fast forward, we had a good time, dated for a while, had her fun. Uh, she was doing some things I didn't like and didn't tolerate, and I told her, hey, look, I'm not gonna tell you what you can and can't do. That's not me. But if you continue to do these things, you just don't deserve a relationship with me. Like a girl who I'm gonna take seriously doesn't do these things, and she continued to do them. So one day she woke up and realized that she no longer had access to me. Right? I had blocked her and whatever. I was like, look, you're free to do as you can, live your life the way you can, just not with me around. Um, and what happened was like she reached out years later, I think, and this was actually like maybe last year. She's now about a year or 2 years younger than me, and she's talking about how she's then had a third son, a third child. Um, and I was like, are the same, same baby daddy? And she's like, no, something completely different. And I was like, in my head, two things that, well, she said something else after. She was talking about how she's made a change in her life and how she's found God, and she started talking out, and I believe me, I didn't believe it at first, but it was wild. She started talking about the whole idea of being like a born again virgin, and I wanted to laugh so hard. Um, and she was talking about how she's since found God and the meaning of of relationships and finding religion to be the thing, and she was on the wrong path, and she's glad that she's found, and whatever, that whole religious BS, right? Um, and I told her, I'm like, well, what a coincidence, right? That you found God like finally once you realized that nobody really wanted you seriously. They were all just using you. Um, you gave a third guy a child. This is when I found out that all of them had different baby daddies. It was just wild. Um, gave a third one a child, and he didn't want to take care of it. Now she's like trying to hit me up because she thought, because of, you're a nice guy, you're respectful, you're this, that, and the third, that I was somehow gonna come super and save her and whatever. And I was like, hell no, like what? And she was like talking about how from now on she was going to want to, before she got into a relationship or did anything with a guy, that she wanted to be married first, and how she was gonna save herself from marriage. And I was in my head, it was funny. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't feel bad, I really don't. But I told her, I was like, look, and again, they may try to walk it off, but I told her, like, save what? What are you saving for the next guy? Like, what can you possibly give me what you haven't already given to anybody else? And she said, wait, what do you mean? I'm like, yeah, exactly that question. What can you give me you haven't already given to everybody else? Right? And she looked at me like, what are you saving? Leftovers? Like, I don't want those crumbs. That's, that just, sure. Someone like that, I'll be honest, it's a bad metaphor, but shout out to Patrice O'Neal. You know, it's like a stale box of Cracker Jacks. You know what I mean? It's just, you can't be like trying to like tease me with them. Like, just throw them on the floor. Or I'll eat some stale Cracker Jacks, right? But just throw them on the floor. Like, they're old, they're stale. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm sorry to say, but if she were to compare herself to what I've had since, she can't hold a candle to it. Like, she just can't, right? Because instead of that, I can go out and get a 25 or 23, 24, 25, 26 year old who doesn't have kids, who doesn't have all that trauma, who doesn't have all this baggage, who's gonna have time for me, who, when I ask her that question, what can you give me you haven't already given everybody else, can answer. That's a very important question, guys. If you get anything out of this video at all, or at this live, and me coming back to this, so again, I'm gonna try to do this way more often, but next time you're on a date, ask that question. What can you give me you haven't already given to everybody else? you have to hold people to a standard. Like you can't just take I'm sorry to say, you can't just take the crumbs and accept the crumbs and say like this is what I deserve. No. But on the token, sorry, on the flip side of that, as a dude, you have to put in the work. You have to be a certain type of dude to demand any type of like respect or standards from anybody else. You can't be a bum having all these standards, but having nothing to offer yourself. You know, not having stories, not having experience, not having money, not having personality. That you have to put in the work as well. So, anyways, with that being said, again, I appreciate every single one of you guys. Um, again, check out the store. You know, I'd appreciate that. Again, if you go on Etsy, you can either look up the Ultra Ego 86, which is my IG handle store. Like I said, I'll put it on here if I could really quick, and then again, shout out to Icy. It's complicated on Las Vegas doing the Lord's work. Um, please check it out. Check out the Instagram. Follow the Instagram. Like the video. Subscribe. The works. Follow me on Twitter. All the good stuff, right? But yeah, I probably I'm gonna try to do a video this week. It's New Year's, but I'll see if maybe some family member or something, one of my cousins, one of you yahoos, see if maybe you guys want to do a quick video with me. Again, I'll try to get on this a little more. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for your time, and I will see you guys later.